Read already? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about the power of television. Now, the average person in the UK watches television for 4 hours and 18 minutes every single day. And that matters because television is super powerful. It makes us believe we're seeing things when we aren't. It makes us believe that things happen when they don't. And most remarkably of all, it shows us things that are real and makes us believe that they're not. So taking each of these in turn, television makes us believe we're seeing things when we aren't. Why do I say that? Well, I used to love nature documentaries, the David Attenborough type programs. 60 minutes, learning about the natural world with stunning visuals to accompany it. Fantastic. But that was until I learned those programs are a sham. The snakes that you see in those programs are a man's arm in a green sock. The rodents and spiders are glove puppets. As for the bigger animals, any apes, gorillas, men in monkey suits, the whole thing is one big deception. And how do I know this? Well, I was in a bar late one evening. It was a convivial atmosphere. So I got talking to a man. And he used to work at the BBC. In fact, he worked at BBC Bristol, where they make a lot of these nature programmes. And he told me that the BBC was a sham. Now, he didn't have to elaborate because I was able to surmise the rest. So we've seen that television makes us believe we're seeing things when we aren't. But it also makes us believe that things happen when they don't. And why do I say that? Well, I used to love Formula One motor racing. The roar of the engines, the skill of the drivers, and the glamour of the global circuit. But that was until I found out that Formula One motor racing is a sham. It's all done in a barn in Berkshire with Scalextric. The drivers are actors. The cars are fiberglass models that can't even get off the starting grid. And how do I know this? Well, I was in a bar late one evening. It was a convivial atmosphere. And I got talking to a woman. And she used to work as one of the glamorous models that parade around the circuit before the start of the race. And over breakfast the next morning she told me she didn't understand how such flimsy looking vehicles could go so quickly. So let's be clear, this is somebody who worked in the industry casting doubt on its authenticity. She didn't have to elaborate because I was able to surmise the rest. So we've seen that television makes us believe we're seeing things when we aren't. We've seen that television makes us believe that things happen when they don't. But I also say that most remarkably of all, television shows us things that are real and makes us believe that they're not. And why do I say that? Well, I used to love watching Doctor Who. And my favourite enemies of Doctor Who were the Daleks. Those upside down dustbins on wheels with a single eye poking out at the end of a pole. But that was until I found out the terrifying truth that the Daleks are real. They came to Earth several decades ago from outer space and landed in the UK. The UK government of the day was desperate to avoid a panic. so it persuaded the BBC to create a programme in which the Daleks could appear. And that way, any public appearances by the Daleks could be explained away as connected with the programme. And how do I know this? Well, I was in a bar late one evening, and it was a convivial atmosphere. And I got talking to a woman, and she'd appeared as an extra in one of the episodes. And she told me that her son was terrified of the Daleks. Now, would he be terrified of something that wasn't real? I don't think so. So she didn't have to elaborate. I was able to surmise the rest. So my fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, we've seen that television makes us believe that we're seeing things when we aren't. We've seen it makes us believe that things happen when they don't. And we've seen that most remarkably of all, it shows us things that are real and makes us believe they're not. Now, I know that some of you won't believe me, but I also know that some of you won't want to believe me, and some of you won't dare to believe me. But if what you're thinking is that this looks nothing like a snake, well, that's my point, because that's the power of television.